What's up guys, welcome to the video. Today we're gonna get stuck straight into the topic of conversation, which is the 8 habits that I consistently see in healthy men who are in great shape. This is based on my own personal experience, having gotten in very good shape myself, but also on my 5 years having worked as a personal trainer and as a nutritionist, where I've worked with over 100 guys, both on the gym floor, face to face, and also online, all over the world. So what I will say before we get into the 8 habits is that some of these things you might not perceive right now, before you've watched this video, as a habit. But I encourage you to come into it with an open mind, watch the video to the end, and hopefully you will get some value from this that's gonna help you make your life healthier, happier, and more fulfilled. So, number 1 is that these men focus on the process and not the outcome. Because a lot of people will come into a program with myself, let's say, for example, a 12-week program. And they will say, right, well, after 12 weeks, I want to have lost 5 kilos, or I want to have gained 3 kilos of muscle, or I've dropped 2 belt sizes, or fit into this clothes, or look a certain way. And what I try to do with these guys who are coming in with that mindset is to detach themselves from a sort of objective endpoint. Because I've done this in myself in the past. I've set objective endpoints, I've hit those endpoints, and then what tends to happen is for 1, 2, or even 3 weeks, you end up kind of feeling quite lost because you've had a mission, you've achieved your mission, you've celebrated your mission being achieved, and now you're not really sure what to do. And it takes a few weeks, in my experience anyway, to reset the dopamine levels, the serotonin levels, the mission, and to go again. What I find is far more beneficial, and the guys I see who are consistently making progress with no bumps in the road, is that they're focusing on the process and not the outcome. What they're also doing is finding ways to enjoy that process, because whatever process it may be, whether it's to do with your fitness, your nutrition, your diet, your mental health, your job, your career, your money, your relationship, anything, there will be bumps in the road. There will be days, there will be weeks where you're not enjoying what you need to do to get the job done, because the process isn't necessarily meant to be fun, but they are finding ways to enjoy it. And another key thing they do, and I think this is a way they do this to enjoy it or find ways to enjoy it, is they find ways to gamify it. So you've seen those memes where it's like, there's a guy and he's like, if I don't reach that tree before this car, then I'm gonna die and my whole family will die. Like little things like that. That's obviously a silly example, but these guys will find ways to gamify the process so that they're constantly keeping themselves in competition with themselves and even with other people. Because I think men thrive on competition. The other sort of mindset traits that I believe are more habits, because ultimately all of these traits, if you practice them habitually, are going to benefit you, is they're masters of patience. They understand that delayed gratification is a necessity for anything good. They're not constantly chopping and changing what they're doing, because they understand that once they've figured out what works, they just need to keep doing it. Put it this way, if you found out how to make $1 million and you found the exact roadmap, the exact process, and you did it once, you would just keep doing it, wouldn't you? You'd be like, well, I know how to make 1, so now I'm just gonna make 2, make 3, make 10, make 100, make 1 billion, whatever it might be. It's the same with your fitness, it's the same with your diet. A lot of people, they'll see a little bit of progress and then they'll think, okay, right, now I need to try and find the next shortcut, the next hack, because I wanna keep going, but I wanna get there even faster. It's essentially greed. And what you really want to do is have that patience, be able to accept delayed gratification and not chop and change, because what chopping and changing will likely do, if you are on the right path, is that it's actually going to set you back 10 steps. Because then you end up having to go back to the beginning. The universe will, in some kind of karmic way, reset what you've achieved, okay? And I think around that, you'll also see guys who aren't necessarily getting the progress that they want. What they are lacking in that sense is patience. Okay, so that's number 1. And again, you might not see that necessarily as a habit. You might think, well, he's talking about more of a mindset here. But I tend to see this stuff as I'm in the habit of creating a positive mindset, of creating a growth mindset, okay? So that's number 1. Number 2 is a lot more straightforward and simple. And it's all to do with this stuff, water. Men who I see who are consistently making progress, in good shape, who are healthy, are always hydrated. They are not skimping on their water. They are drinking at least 3 to 4 liters per day. And this very simple way to do this is you keep it in your eye line. If I put it here, yeah, you can just about see. If I was to put it there, like obviously I'm not going to do that, it'd be a bit weird, but you can see that the water is always going to be in my eye line. You can't quite see it, but my laptop's right in front of me. Right next to my laptop, if I'm sitting here working all day, is a huge 1.5 liter bottle of water. Keeping water in your eye line, not in your vicinity, because I could put it down here on the floor, right? It's next to me, but I can't see it, so it's not in my conscious mindset. I have it next to me, I will just drink more water. So if you drink more water, I guarantee you'll be healthier and happier. Why would you be healthier and happier? Water is a little bit like a secondary energy system. Our primary energy system, our primary fuel is calories, okay? But our secondary energy system is water, because if you think about it, water is needed for your blood, which transports your nutrients, your minerals, your protein to the cells. It's needed in your blood. The oxygen, which is in H2O, water, is needed for that process. So it's incredibly valuable. What water also does is it satiates you. So if you're drinking a lot of water, you will not feel as hungry. So it's incredibly beneficial if someone's trying to lose weight as well. Number 3 is that men who are consistently, I see, who are healthy and in good shape, are getting outside, they're getting plenty of fresh air, they're getting plenty of sunlight, and they're getting plenty of steps in. I've grouped all 3 there into one, but it's essentially getting outside and moving. It doesn't have to be running, doesn't have to be jogging, doesn't have to be zone 2, doesn't have to be bike, doesn't have to be scooter, doesn't have to be anything. They're getting outside, they're getting fresh air, they're looking up into the distance, activating their parasympathetic nervous system, which is associated with rest and relaxation in your brain, getting away from the dialed in focus of staring at the laptop, staring at the iPad, staring at the iPhone all day, and they're looking into the distance, they're getting into nature, and they're walking. By walking, they're also getting their cardiovascular health up, they're promoting healthy blood flow, and they're burning calories, which means they're gonna stay in a healthy body composition. Number 4 is that they eat a high protein diet. So protein has many a benefit, which I've covered in other videos, so I'm not gonna go into detail on this one, but the top sort of 2 or 3 I would say, first and foremost, is it is the macronutrient that is associated to recovery, to healing, to genesis, effectively, to the generation of new cells, okay? Number 2, the second sort of major benefit of a high protein diet is that it satiates you. Protein is the hardest of the 3 macronutrients for your body to break down and digest. So as a result of that, it's voluminous, it fills your stomach, and it makes it harder for you to want to eat more. Now, if you're eating a high protein diet and it's satiating you, it's going to be harder for you to overconsume calories, which means you're going to stay at a healthy weight, okay? So that's number 4. Number 5, similarly linked to number 1 and to do with the mindset, is that these men are always wanting to learn more, and they go into all of this stuff with an open mind. If you've come into this video and you've got an open mind and you want to learn, and you've not just gone, oh, I've heard all this before, well, by now those guys would have switched off. So congratulations, if you're still here, you have this trait, you are in this habit. So you can tick at least one of these things off the list, guys. Because the guys who get ahead, the guys who, you know, are the healthiest out there, are the ones who are always willing to become the student and not think of themselves as knowing it all and being the teacher. There's an old phrase which we all hear when we're a kid, but it seems to die out when we're adults, that no one likes to know it all, right? Well, it's exactly, this is what it applies to here now. Number, what are we on? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is that they are consistent with everything, with all of the stuff we've talked about today. They're consistent with their diet, they're consistent with their training, they're consistent with all of these habits. More to the point though, they stack these habits, so they do them all because they're consistent with them, and they let them compound. So they don't just do them for 1 week and say, yeah, I've had a good week, now I'm gonna go out on the piss and have 10 pints and do some gear and, you know, whatever. They're consistent with them because they understand that they're working towards something bigger. They're not just necessarily doing these things to like get jacked and muscly or to have a 6-pack. They're doing it because they want to reach peak performance. They want to be respected by their friends, by their colleagues, by their family, by their children. So they have a really strong purpose as to why they're doing them, and they are stacking these habits and they are letting them compound. I keep losing track. I should have numbered these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Number 7 is sleep. Sleep is arguably the most important of them all. It's one of the few traits of humans all share as a necessity. They are consistently going to bed at the same time and waking up at the same time, because sleep regularity is actually now being found to be the most important factor when it comes to sort of sleep quality. But not only that, they are getting at least a minimum of 7 hours good quality sleep. How are they getting a minimum of 7 hours good quality sleep? They're allowing their food to digest for a few hours before they eat. They're stopping to drink water for at least a couple of hours before they eat, so they're not waking up in the night to go to the bathroom. And they're de-stressing before they go to bed, which means they're not working on their laptop, they're not scrolling social media, getting triggered. They're down regulating their cortisol level by relaxing. How are they relaxing? They're reading, they're listening to podcasts, they're spending time with loved ones, their kids, their partner. They're listening to something funny on a radio, or the radio, I don't know where that came from, a podcast or YouTube or something like that. They're not up watching serial killer documentaries whilst scrolling TikTok and eating candy. Okay, that's like the opposite end of the spectrum. And number 8, last but certainly not least, guys, is that they are tracking their data, because what you can measure, you can improve. And at the very least, if you've just started tracking some of these things, how much water you're drinking, how much sleep you're getting, how many steps you're getting in, how many grams of protein you're eating per day, just as a few examples, what you're first doing is building some awareness. It's allowing you to realize where you're falling short and where you need to make up the numbers. And then once you start to make up the numbers and start to feel the benefit from it, it's just kind of like a checkbox every single evening. You're like, yep, done that, done that, done that, done that. How do I feel? Yep, I feel good, cool. Go to bed, wake up the next day, feel good. Now, of course, this isn't the perfect system. You know, people get ill, people get stressed, people get, whatever. Things go wrong. But for the most part, this allows these men to not only stay healthy, not only to stay in great shape, but it allows them to perform at an absolute peak level. And that, I think, really is what we all want. We don't necessarily want to have the six-pack. We don't necessarily want to have the biggest biceps in the world. We want to feel our best. We want to live healthy, happy, and more fulfilled lives. So guys, a very quick recap. They focus on the process, not the outcome. They drink plenty of water. They're getting outside into nature, fresh air, sunlight, and steps. They're eating a high protein diet. They're always wanting to learn more, and they're being open-minded. They're consistent with their training, their diet, and all these other habits, and then they stack them and compound them. They are consistent with their sleep quality and sleep quantity. And last but not least, they track their data. So that was a quick run through, guys. But remember, around all of this stuff, it's important to embrace the hard work. But remember, it is harder to get in shape than it is to stay in shape. You also need to realize there is no shortcut. Doing these 8 habits is your fastest way there. I promise you that. And if you can find ways to enjoy the process, gamify it, I promise you it will make it so much easier. And once you're in that shape, not only will it be easier to maintain it, you will want to maintain it. There will be a greater desire to, because you will unlock a sense of feeling and belonging and happiness that you never even thought possible. So I really hope this video was useful. If it was, subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment, let me know if you think I've missed anything. I would be very keen to hear if there's any other habits that you do, if you're in great shape, or if you're feeling very healthy that you think I've missed. I'll speak to you very soon.